My stepmother framed me for stealing to get my father to cut me off. I took evidence of her lies to their wedding, causing family strife. I'm 26-year-old Ava. I generated a lot of trouble at my father Mark's wedding to my 48-year-old stepmother Rachel. Please bear with me as I explain this complex story. My mother left me after a long battle with cancer. I had the condition at 8. This was dreadful for my father and me. Two of us were the only ones trying to live without her for years. We bonded extremely well throughout that time. Despite working long hours to support my family and myself, my father never missed a major life milestone. He focused on work and parenting me. I have clear recollections of him learning how to braid my hair for school, him ruining countless dinners to become a master chef, and him staying up late to help me with science fair projects. His goal was to be my mother and father, and he mostly succeeded. Our support and concern never wavered despite our struggles. My dad started working with Rachel when I was 17. His employer had just hired her as a marketing executive. About 6 months later, they started dating. I cautiously expressed my joy for my father. This was the first time in years he appeared lighter and more comfortable. I developed a bad suspicion of Rachel over time. She was cold toward me when my father was away. She kept saying I wasn't part of their new family and making subtle jabs at me. After coming home from college for the summer, I overheard her telling my father that maybe I should get my own place so they could start their life together. Proper manner. When I asked her about it, she denied saying anything and accused me of listening in. When I tried to talk to my father about Rachel's actions, she would try to make me seem like a jealous and bothersome daughter. She'd cry and tell my father she was trying to connect with me but was blocked. The fact. This was absolutely false, which was frustrating. Rachel impacted my relationship with my father over time. When my father was away, she would tell him I treated her poorly. She said I was unappreciative for anything she did for our family. It was all lies. But my father never believed it. Did not back her. At 21, I had a particularly terrible incident. I planned a camping trip for my father's birthday, just like we did as kids. I spent a lot of time planning, saving for new camping gear, and taking time off work. My father was surprised when Rachel gave him tickets to a lavish spa weekend 2 days before we went. Once I got irritated, she accused me of self-centeredness and hogging my father's time. My father went to the spa with her, so our camping vacation was canceled. About 2 months ago, things went south. Rachel accused me of taking a pricey diamond necklace from her jewelry box. The news shocked me. Such is not my thing, could ever do. However, Rachel acted out her anguish at the thought of my betraying her. She wept over her grandmother's heirloom. My father was furious at me. He said he was ashamed by my behavior, and that I needed to apologize and return the jewelry immediately, despite my best. I tried to clarify that I hadn't taken anything, but they ignored me. Rachel continued to wail theatrically about her pain. My father told me to leave his home and not return until I was ready to apologize and atone. My heart broke. I doubt my father would believe Rachel over me without proof. In the following months, I didn't talk to my dad or Rachel. I was hurt and angry that my father picked Rachel above me. My empty apartment was too quiet, so I worked to distract myself. I couldn't bear the silence, so I often worked late. Despite my friends' efforts to cheer me up, I felt like I had lost my only family. While this happened, they prepared for their wedding. Nobody asked me to the event. I learned from our mutual acquaintances that it would be a magnificent gathering at an expensive vineyard. Rachel seemed to insist on covering every bill, even though my father was always thriftier. I felt sad thinking of him celebrating without me. My 17-year-old stepsister Emma visited me unannounced the day before the wedding. A former relationship produced Rachel's daughter Emma. Despite never being close, we always treated each other nicely. Rachel had Emma when she was young and reared her alone for years before meeting my father. Emma was distressed when she arrived at my apartment. Her eyes were red and puffy, like she was crying. She informed me she heard Rachel on the phone telling someone she had put the jewelry in my purse to frame myself for the crime. Rachel may have wanted to remove me from the picture to keep my father for herself. Emma regretted not speaking up sooner, but she was afraid of her mother's reaction. She told me Rachel had always been manipulative and controlling, but since dating my father, her behavior had worsened. Emma said she could no longer watch Rachel tear our family apart. I went crazy when I heard this. Rachel framed me and forced my father to drop me. It seemed like years of subtle barbs and passive hostile statements made sense. Rachel used the long game to distance my father and me. Emma asked me to attend the wedding and confront Rachel to reveal her actions. I was nervous at first. Since my father was already hurt, I didn't want to cause further trouble. As I thought about it, I was convinced that my father had a right to know the facts before marrying this woman, right before the ceremony. Before the wedding the next day, Emma and I arrived at the venue. Visitors gasped when they saw me in jeans and a t-shirt. This stood out among the elegant outfits and suits. Rachel went white as she saw me walking down the aisle. I marched up to my father and Rachel at the altar when I arrived. Dad seemed surprised when I was there. I told him everything before he spoke. How Rachel framed me for stealing the necklace, how she had manipulated him for years, and how Emma overheard her admitting to all of this on the phone. Rachel shouted that I was lying, but Emma confirmed it. Rachel's complaints were ignored. Rachel's phone, which she carried, recorded the incriminating call. When my father heard Rachel joking about how easy it was to frame me, he was in complete amazement. Everyone at the wedding was murmuring skeptically. Rachel's relatives were incredulous. My father's face was bloody. I couldn't tell if it was anger or humiliation. He asked Rachel if the statement was true. She cried and apologized, but she was caught, she sobbed. My father canceled the wedding instantly. Rachel cried furiously as she ran out of the venue, leaving her white dress behind. Conversation was brisk among all attendees. Standing there, my father seemed incredulous and humiliated. I felt bad for ruining his wedding day, but I thought he should know the truth before making a big mistake. Emma thanked me for disclosing her mother's falsehoods. She was relieved to no longer deal with Rachel's psychological manipulation. 1 week had passed after the catastrophic wedding. My father hasn't told me. I'm not sure if he's furious with me for how I handled the situation or just processing everything. I feel responsible for humiliating him in public. But another part of me thinks he should have had to pay for prioritizing Rachel over me for years. Reddit, thank you for exposing my stepmother's infidelity at my father's wedding. Should I have told my father the truth more subtly? I have mixed thoughts about my behavior. After 1 month since the wedding fiasco, I'd want to update you. Dad tried to reach me a week ago. He suggested we meet for coffee to address the issue. Even though I was nervous, I visited him. We met at a little cafe because it seemed neutral, near my flat. When I first saw my father, I was speechless. He appeared to have aged years in a month. The heavy bags beneath his eyes and baggy clothing on his frame showed that he had lost weight. He initially apologized for not believing me about Rachel. He said he felt stupid after falling for her deception for so long. It appears he dug after the wedding, discovered more Rachel lies. She cheated on him with several men throughout their relationship. She also stole money from his accounts and racked up huge credit card debt in his name. He discovered she used his money to feed her gambling addiction. When explaining everything to me, my father cried. He looked vulnerable, which was unsettling. It was. He was embarrassed to admit he chose Rachel above his daughter. He begged for my forgiveness and asked if we could fix our relationship. Part of me wanted to forgive him immediately. Seeing my strong, stoic father in such disarray was hard, but I was still bitter of how easily he had left me. Though I appreciated his apologies, I told him I needed time to think before making amends. We chatted for 2 hours, attempting to catch up on the past couple months. The relationship between us changed by the end, yet less stressed. We're communicating and taking things slowly to rekindle our relationship. Rachel apparently left town soon after the wedding. Since then, no one has found her. My father says he is working with his attorney to resolve their financial issue and protect himself from her machinations. Moreover, he is suing for theft and fraud. Emma has been staying with me since the wedding. She wants no contact with her mother right now. Actually, we've grown close in the previous month. Talking and hanging out with a sister is great. Emma told me about her life with Rachel over the years. Rachel seemed to manipulate and emotionally abuse Emma as much as she did me. She humiliated Emma, insulted her attractiveness, and compared her to other girls. Aged poorly. Emma said she always felt like she was walking on eggshells around her mother. Emma's 16th birthday story from the year before was horrifying. She was promised a big party with all her close friends by Rachel. Emma spent weeks preparing because she was so excited. Rachel announced a last-minute vacation to Las Vegas with her friends on the day of the celebration. Without party or explanation, Emma was left alone. Rachel gaslighted Emma by saying they had never contemplated attending a party when she tried to ask about it later. I feel bad that Emma endured that toxic atmosphere for so long. I've been doing everything I can to boost her confidence and show her a healthy, supportive relationship. Despite Rachel's absence, she has improved throughout the past month. Emma and my father have shown interest in reconnecting. He feels ashamed for not recognizing Rachel's treatment. Emma is willing to get to know my dad despite her initial reluctance. Their few calls seem to have gone well. I'm cautiously optimistic about our little family's future. It will take time to repair all the scars, but I think we're on the right track. Despite my severe measures, I'm proud of myself for fighting Rachel's lies and defending myself. Sometimes it's vital to tell the truth, no matter how messy. The second update. Many things have happened since my previous update 3 months ago. My father-son connection has steadily improved. We meet regularly for coffee or dinner to discuss the problem. He has been in treatment to understand why he let Rachel rule him for so long. I have told him how much his actions have hurt me throughout the years. Despite its difficulties, I think sharing has been therapeutic for us. We haven't returned to pre-Rachel levels, but I think we will. We'll reach that point. The family camping trip I had planned for almost a decade happened last week. Though bittersweet, it was healing. We spent hours around the campfire remembering our mother and our happy family days. The first time in years, I felt like I had my father back. Emma thrives and lives with me. She has emerged significantly in recent months. She was cast as the spring play's lead after joining the theater club. Her confidence growth has been amazing. Even more impressive is that she's discussing her plans for college, which Rachel always opposed. The sudden return of Rachel a month ago caused some disruption in our life. She arrived at my apartment searching for Emma and wanting to see her. She was drunk and became angry when I refused to let her in. Rachel screamed about how we had ruined her life and taken her family. She threatened to sue for Emma's custody and take her somewhere we'd never find her. Rachel pounded on Emma's door as she hid in her fearful room. Finally, I had to phone the